From Lahaina, Maui, home to world-famous Longhi's restaurant, it's Cooking with Longhi. Join your host, Bob Longhi, and his old friend, celebrated restaurateur Poppy Morgan, as he shows you how anybody can be a great cook, using some of the secrets that have made Longhi's an enduring success for more than 20 years. And now from his home on historic Front Street, your host, Bob Longhi.
Aloha. Hi, I'm Bob Longhi. I'm talking to you from my home in beautiful Lahaina, Maui. I'd like to introduce to you my 20-year friend, my old buddy, Poppy Morgan. How are you, Poppy?
Aloha, Bob.
What's the aloha today,
The
Poppy?
aloha today is the God in me recognize the God in you, and together we are one family.
That's fantastic. Over the next 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or who knows, many tapes, Poppy and I are going to show you some of the great recipes from Longhi's restaurant. As you know, I have a restaurant down the street called Longhi's. And over the past 20 years, Longhi's has become world famous using these recipes. Before we start, I'd like to make one big statement, and that anybody can be a great cook. You don't have to be a trained chef. You don't have to be a restaurateur. You don't have to be a culinary expert. All you have to be is someone who wants to be a great cook. And it takes 3 things to be a great cook. The first thing is you have to have desire, which is wanting. If you have desire and you want to do something, that's 90% of the problem right there solved. The second thing is you have to have some expertise. You have to know what you're doing, and you got to do things in the right order. Poppy and I, over the next shows, we're going to show you how to do this. We're going to give you those secrets, and we're going to show you how to do it. And what's the third thing, Poppy?
One more thing, Bob, that's very important. If you put a lot of love and energy into your cooking, you're going to get a lot better results.
That's right. If you put love and energy into your cooking, you're going to get a lot better result. And always remember, always put your attention where it belongs. So you need desire, you need the right order and some expertise, you need to put your attention, and you have to do it with, as Poppy says,
with a lot of love.
A lot of love. Now, we talk about Italian cuisine. We're going to show you many pasta dishes. If you're going to get pasta, Poppy, where's the best place to get pasta?
I would go to Italy right away. I'd jump on a plane and be gone, go to Italy and get it.
Italy's the best. And in Italy, there's a section called Abruzzi. Abruzzi is a little bit north of Rome, east of Rome on the Adriatic Sea. And Abruzzi is famous for the best pasta in Italy. Now, there's a little town in Italy, in Abruzzi, which is called what, Poppy?
Well, you couldn't stop raving about when you came back. It was Ferro San Martino.
Ferro San Martino
Love
has
that
about,
little town.
What's it have, about 500 people in it, and they have 2 giant pasta companies over at Ferro San Martino. So last year I was reading an article in Food and Wine, and this article said that there was a blind test done by 10 of the great restaurateurs of New York City who were Italian restaurateurs. And every one of these restaurateurs picked this one company called Del Verde as the best pasta, which was in Ferro San Martino. So last year I decided to do a pasta pilgrimage. I went to Italy for 2 months. First thing I did was I went to this little town, and these people were very gracious. They made me a terrific lunch. And when I'm eating lunch, the president of the company got up, excused himself, went out to the mountain that's right next to it, got some water out of a spigot, brought it back to me, and said, "Drink this water, Bob. It was the greatest water I ever had in my life." And as you know, the most important thing in making pasta is what?
Water.
It's water. What's the second thing?
It would be a real good hard wheat.
Hard durum wheat called semolina. Most of the wheat they use in this pasta comes within 150 miles of Ferro San Martino. And what is the third thing again?
Third thing, they have to have a lot of detail and love.
That's right, detail and love. And these people have been doing this for many years, and I believe, we think they put love into it because their pasta is great. So when I left Italy, I came back and
I feel very romantic after I eat it.
After you eat it?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, you feel romantic after you eat anything. But anyway, getting back to the story, when I came back from Ferro San Martino back to Maui, we always do blind testing at Longhi's because we never change a product unless we do that. So we did 5 days of blind testing different pastas, and everybody continually picked this Del Verde. So for the past year now, we've been using Del Verde pasta in Longhi's. Now, my suggestion to you, this is the Del Verde right here. My suggestion to you is if you go to buy pasta, try to find Del Verde. It's not available throughout America, but it's getting to be more and more places. If you can't find Del Verde, get yourself a good Italian pasta. It only costs about $2 a pound. And I believe that pasta is probably the cheapest thing in the world, where you can serve 4 to 6 people from a pound of pasta, give them plenty to eat, and give them a delicious, delicious meal. And we're going to show you in the future some ways that you can do this.
You know, Bob, if they can't find this in their market, maybe they should get down on their knees and beg their market guy to get it.
Well, that's possible too.
Because it's that good a pasta.
It's that good. It's fantastic pasta. Now, the second thing you need in Italian cooking is what? You need good olive oil. Is that right?
Great olive oil.
Now, olive oil is a funny thing. 20 years ago, Poppy, when it was the hippie age.
What do you mean 20 years ago? It's hippie right now.
Well, I guess by looking at you it is. But anyway, okay, so now we're not in such a hippie age except for Poppy's existence. People have had a different attitude about olive oil. About 20 years ago, they were bad-mouthing it. 10 years ago, we found out that the people who ate a lot of olive oil and used olive oil had a better health, didn't have heart attacks, and lived longer. So now olive oil has become a very big in thing. Now, what kind of olive oil should you use? Olive oil from France is lighter. Olive oil from Spain and southern Italy and Sicily is heavier. Some of the olive oils around the world are medium. So my suggestion to you is find a very good, what we call extra virgin olive oil. You want extra virgin olive oil cold pressed. It's the most expensive, but it's the best. If you can't afford that or you feel it's too much to spend, find yourself another kind of olive oil, but get a good olive oil if you're going to use that and if you're going to cook an Italian cuisine. If you're going to use Italian cuisine, if you're going to cook the Italian method, you need good olive oil. The third thing are tomatoes, right, Poppy?
You have to have great tomatoes.
Now, these tomatoes are called Hunt's. Hunt's whole tomatoes in their juice. Now, what happened about when we did the test?
Well, we tried 14 different tomatoes from all over the world, and they all seem to be a little salty and a little preserved, and these have always been sweet and delicious.
That's what we found. So we did that at Longhi's, and we've been using these tomatoes at Longhi's for the past about 10 years. If you can find fresh tomatoes, they're the best, but it's very hard to find them today. So my suggestion, if you want good tomatoes all the time, look for Hunt's and use these whole tomatoes in au natural. They're called all natural whole tomatoes in their juice. All right, now we come to one more thing that we use in Italian cuisine a lot, and that is what?
You're the garlic king, you tell me.
Well, it's garlic. You know, again, 20 years ago, if you used 3 or 4 cloves of garlic, they thought that was a lot. The only people who used a lot of garlic were the people from southern France, which called Provence. Everybody else used 1 garlic, 2 cloves, and so forth. Something happened about 10 years ago in California.
About 10 years ago, Gilroy, California is the garlic capital of the world. They had a garlic festival called the Stinky Rose Festival, and 10,000 people showed up. 10 years later, there are 350,000 people there. Garlic is spreading like wildfire.
That's right. Now, the wonderful thing about garlic is it's how you use the garlic determines what the result is. If you slice garlic, you get one result. If you put it in a crusher, you get another result. If you cook it for 5 minutes, you get another result. So we're going to show you in all the recipes we do how you can use garlic in different ways to get a different result. We even use 35 cloves of garlic in one dish.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Very exciting.
And we're going to do that later. You'll see that in a later show. So now we have those 4 things that we are going to talk about. We've already talked about. In later shows, we're going to talk about some other things like anchovies and like cheese and things of that nature, olives and so forth. Now, that takes care of the ingredients for now. Now we're going to talk about what are you going to use? What are your utensils? What's the best way to cook? Now, if you're a great tennis player, you're a great golfer, you're a violinist, whatever you are, you need to have good things to work with. You don't want to have a bad violin. You want to have a good violin. So many chefs or so many cooks, not really chefs, but so many people who cook do not use very good utensils. We do not use aluminum in our cooking. If you go to most stores today to buy a pan, most of them are aluminum. I feel that aluminum is number 1, bad for you, and number 2, it doesn't retain the heat nearly as well as other pans. So what do you use? Well, we like this cast iron pan, number 1. This cast iron pan is very simple, costs about $10. The thing that scares most people is they have to season it. How do you season it, Poppy?
It's so simple. You just heat it up, put some salt in there, take a paper towel and rub with the salt, keep rubbing it in, dump the salt out, put a little bit of oil, bake it for about an hour, then rub it with your paper towel, and you got a seasoned pan.
And that's it. Now, you never, again, you can wipe it out with water, but never put it in the dishwasher or anything of that nature. Now, this cost about $10. This pan cost about $50. It's the same kind of pan, except it has a porcelain enamel finish. The beauty of this pan is you don't have to care for it nearly as much as the other pan. You don't have to season it, and you get a fantastic result. Now, in our restaurant, we use what's called rolled steel. Now, these are very good, these pans, if you have a commercial stove and you want to cook things real fast and have high heat. So these are what I would suggest. This pan here is the same as this pan. We use this for boiling water and things of that nature. Now, one more thing that's extremely important in cooking. What is that, Poppy?
Is you have to have a great knife.
You have to have a great knife. Now, this knife
always
here...
make friends with your knife.
How do you do, knife? Nice to see you. This is a beautiful 8-inch French knife. I suggest anybody goes out, if you're going to buy a knife, buy this. You can get a Henkel's, which is a German knife that's great. That's what this is. You can buy Sabatier, a French one, all kinds. Costs you from $40 to $100. Now, Poppy later in a demonstration in one of our shows is going to show you the proper way of handling a knife. Okay, now, anybody can be a cook. Remember that all it takes is your attention. It's an existential experience. If you put all of your energy into it, you're going to get a great result. When we come back, we're going to do one of the most famous sauces in the world. It's called Pomodoro sauce. Looking forward to seeing you in a few minutes. Aloha. Aloha, everybody. Hi, I'm Bob Longhi. I'm here to show you a new sauce, a sauce called Pomodoro sauce. And with me today is my old friend, Poppy Morgan. How you doing, Poppy?
Aloha, Bob.
What's the aloha today?
Aloha today is I greet you with open heart and open mind.
Open heart and open mind. We'll have an open heart and have an open mind, and we'll try to show you a sauce that you're really going to enjoy. Now, this sauce is a basic sauce we use at Longhi's Restaurant, which is my restaurant down the street. We've been in business for 20 years, and this has been the sauce that we've always used. It's a very simple sauce, but it's a wonderful sauce. And why it's so good is you can use it with all kinds of different kinds of pasta. You can use it with vermicelli, you can use it with spaghetti, you can use it with penne, you can use it with rigatoni. Any kind of sauce you want to use, you can use it with lasagna. It's also very wonderful to put on eggplant parmesan and veal parmesan and chicken parmesan and all kinds of other things. So everybody should have this basic sauce in their repertoire. Okay, Poppy, now what's the first thing we got to do when we make pasta?
Well, the first thing I do, Bob, is I get really hungry, and then I put the water on. You taught me that.
You got to have water because it's nothing worse than waiting for the water. So now the water is boiling, and we're going to cook what's called spaghettini today. Spaghettini is a pasta that's a little bit thinner than spaghetti. It cooks, it said 6 minutes on the package. We're going to cook it for 4 to 5 minutes because we like our pasta al dente. And as I talked in a show before, we're going to use Del Verde pasta from Abruzzi, Italy. This is the greatest pasta in the world. And it's an elegant pasta, and it's a wonderful pasta. So we're going to use this pasta. Now, the first thing we do is the water is boiling. We're not going to put the pasta in quite yet. We're going to take this pan here, and we're going to add extra virgin olive oil to it. This is beautiful olive oil. See how nice and green it is? So that's the first thing we're going to do. Use extra virgin olive oil, right? And we're going to heat that olive oil up, and then we're going to add to it 3 cloves of garlic. Now, I talked before about how garlic changes the dish depending on how you treat the garlic. We're going to use 35 cloves of garlic in one dish. This dish, we're only using 3, and then we're going to use 3 at the end. So we're going to use 6 cloves of garlic. But we're going to use a garlic press. Now, I suggest that everybody should go out and buy themselves this garlic press. Okay, this is one of the most beautiful things you can buy. By the way, Poppy, I think it's time to put the pasta on.
I think you're absolutely.
Now, when you put the pasta on, what do you do first?
I'm going to put a little olive oil.
Put a little bit of olive oil.
Not like last time.
And don't put so much salt. In the last show we did on TV, Poppy put the salt in for about 2 minutes.
Do you know why, Bob?
Why?
Because I thought that was my only part in the show.
That's right.
I wanted to make it longer.
All right, well, don't make it longer today. Let's do it right. There's the olive oil. There's the salt, and Poppy's going to put the pasta in.
Let me have your famous pasta
It's going to go for
fork.
about 5 minutes. The next thing everybody should buy is this little pasta fork. This is one of the greatest things you can find. This thing is wonderful. I suggest everybody go out and buy one of these pasta forks. Here we go, Poppy. Well, we're a little sloppy here today, but
Hey.
Poppy only works with one hand. So
Yeah, but it's always the right hand.
always the right hand.
This Del Verde is such a great pasta.
Now, what time is it right now? It's 3 after the hour. We're going to keep this in for 5 minutes. Okay? In the meantime, this sauce is getting ready to go. Now we're going to take 3 cloves of garlic. We're going to put them in this garlic press. And this garlic press is so easy that even a guy like me can use it. I hope. Here we go. We just take the garlic press, you put it right in here. You squeeze it in here. There we go.
Oil's
Take
perfect.
a little fork, get rid of the rest of it, and that's it. Now, I like to use these wooden forks, these wooden spoons, I mean, when I cook. These are very good to work with. Professional chefs, as you see in restaurants, often will do a lot of shaking of the pan and all that. That's wonderful, but you don't have to do that. You can use these forks, and it's very simple. Now, I'm going to cook this garlic until it's just a bit golden. It's not going to overcook it. When it gets golden, what we're going to do is we're going to take the tomatoes, which I'm now separating the juice from the tomatoes, and we're going to put the tomatoes, whole tomatoes, right into the pan. Okay? How you doing there, Poppy?
Fine, it's mixing.
Now, one thing you want to remember, when you're cooking pasta, you want to stir it often, because that way it keeps it from sticking. Now, why do we put the salt and the olive oil in there?
Just to flavor the water and flavor the pasta.
And also to lubricate it?
And to keep it smooth and...
Okay, we're going to put the tomatoes right into this pan, right here. Want to keep the heat high. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to cut these tomatoes, and I want to cut them right in the pan. By the way, when you do this, make sure you don't use a real sharp knife because it'll ruin the pan.
Yeah, because last time you did, you blamed everybody within 5 miles of here.
And it was me doing it.
It was you doing it the whole time.
One of the things I want to talk about in cooking is that you can make a lot of mistakes when you cook. It's not an exact science. I mean, Poppy and I here, we're sitting here making mistakes and so forth, but the dish is going to come out real well because we're paying attention to it, we're trying to do it right, and we have our attention in the right place.
Are you telling me it's an art?
I think it's an art. I agree with that. Now, we let this cook for a few more minutes. And after this cooks for a few more minutes, we're then going to add the tomato juice, which came out of the same can. And after that, we're going to add some basil, we're going to add some Parmesan cheese and some black pepper, and that's really all there is to the dish. But we're not going to add those other things until the pasta is ready. The pasta still has about 2 minutes to go. Okay? Now we'll just let these things cook for a while. I'm ready to add the juice right now. So we add the juice, and we'll let that all cook together. Turn up the heat a little bit, and wait for the pasta to cook. You know, I went to a golf tournament the other day, I tell you that, Poppy, and 7 guys came up to me and they said, "Gee, Bob, we want to thank you." And I said, "What for?" I thought they were putting me on. They said, "No, we're serious. You have changed our life because now we feel that we can cook. In fact, matter of fact, we're heroes to our family." So if you start using these recipes, and my next admonishment to you is that do the recipes the way that I show you. Try them that way first, because a lot of things, if you don't do them in the proper order, you don't get the right result. So do them the way I show you first, and then you can try your little differences, you can try little things you want to do. But do them the way I show you first, okay? Now,
We've got about 1 more minute.
this has about a minute to go. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about, in the meantime, this sauce is getting ready. We're not going to add anything more to this sauce until we put the pasta in. Many people cook pasta, and I love you, Mom, but my mother, who was a cook, used to cook pasta, and her whole thing was when she finished cooking the pasta, she took it, she put it in a colander, and drained it with cold water. And she said, "Well, that's better because it gets rid of the starch." Well, I hate to say this, but that's really the wrong thing to do. You want the starch on the pasta, because what happens is the starch grabs the sauce, or the sauce, I should say, is grabbed by the pasta with the starch, and it synergizes everything so that you get a terrific result. As a matter of fact, if you get some of this water in here, it's going to improve the sauce. It's not going to make it worse. We're about ready there?
You know how we can best do it? We taste it.
Best way to taste pasta, the best way to tell whether it's right or not is to taste it. Now, some people say, need another 30 seconds.
Yeah, this is like John Colapre would.
Yeah, we have my partner of mine in Jamaica. His name is John Colapre, and he has pasta so al dente. He cooks it for a set of 8 minutes. He cooks it about 3 minutes. So everybody has a different opinion of what al dente is. We think it should be about 5 minutes when it's at 6. So we have about another 30 seconds. After that, we're going to take the pasta. We're going to put it directly into here, and we're going to mix it together. Now it's ready. Let's go. This goes in here. If we spill some, it's no big deal. We'll clean it up later. So just remember, if you make mistakes, that's okay. Nobody is perfect. It's not an exact science. It's a labor of love, and if you do it right, you're going to have a great result, and you're going to have great food. Now, once we get this in here, we're going to start to mix this together like that. I want to turn the heat down. And now what are we going to add to it, Poppy?
Let's add a little bit of basil.
We're going to add some basil, and we're going to add some Parmesan cheese.
You want some more pasta in there, Mr. Longhi?
No more. Poppy's like a Jewish mother. He always wants to put too much pasta in. If you put too much pasta into the sauce, it spoils it because you don't have enough sauce in relationship to the pasta. Now, the last thing we're going to put in this is going to be black pepper. Now, again, I learned many years ago that black pepper, if you cook with it, is an irritant. But if you use it after it's cooked and then you add it, it's very, very good for you. So we're going to shut the heat off. We're going to add the black pepper to it right here. You can put a little salt in if you want. And the last thing we're going to add is Parmesan cheese. We mix it all together, and we're just about ready to have a beautiful dish.
How about putting in some more garlic?
You're right, Poppy. Now, if you want, you can add a little bit more garlic to it at this time. We're going to add another clove or 2 of garlic. Actually, I said 3, but let's add 2. And you put the garlic right in fresh. That's it. You just add it right to it. Don't worry about it.
It gives such a great kick.
It gives it a great kick. Isn't that wonderful? Here we go. Now, let me take this and put this here. Okay. Now, this is Pomodoro sauce. You can use this sauce for all kinds of things, as I said before. It's a wonderful dish, and I believe that if you try it, you're going to love it. By the way, the prep time and the cooking time on this thing together take about 15 or 20 minutes. So when you come home at work, you got something to do that's real easy. So until our next show, aloha.
Aloha, Bob. And let's cook with love and eat with passion.
Cook with love and eat with passion. Until next time, aloha.
From Lahaina, Maui, home to world-famous Longhi's restaurant, it's Cooking with Longhi. Join your host, Bob Longhi, and his old friend, celebrated restaurateur Poppy Morgan, as he shows you how anybody can be a great cook, using some of the secrets that have made Longhi's an enduring success for more than 20 years. And now from his home on historic Front Street, your host, Bob Longhi.
Aloha. Hi, I'm Bob Longhi, talking to you from my home here in beautiful Lahaina, Maui. And with me today is my old-time buddy, Poppy Morgan. How are you, Poppy?
Aloha, Bob.
What's the aloha today?
Today is Let the Winds of Love Caress Your Heart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
This series we're going to talk about today is going to be called Pasta for Lovers. We have two beautiful sauces for you. First one we're going to do, it's called amore. Now, before we get started, because we're going to do all of these recipes in 10 minutes, the one thing we have to have done first, Poppy, is what? We have to have
that
the
water boiling.
Get that water boiling, which we have. He's got a little olive oil. You're going to put some olive oil in it.
A
He's going to
little
put some
bit.
salt in it. And we're going to put the pasta in a few minutes. Now, the pasta we're going to use today is the Del Verde pasta that we talked about in the past. This is a beautiful pasta from Abruzzi, Italy. And this pasta today is called spaghetti. And on the package, it says cook it for 12 minutes. We're only going to cook this for 7 minutes because we want it completely real al dente. So put this in anytime you can right now, Poppy. Want me to give you a little help?
Let me throw it up in the air, see if it lands in
Poppy
there.
works with one hand, so I'm going to put it in for him, okay? Now, this dish only has 8 ingredients. It has olive oil, it has anchovies, garlic chopped up, hot pepper, parsley, tomato juice, feta cheese, and pepper. Now, 4 of these ingredients are extremely very strong and pungent things. The anchovies, the garlic, the hot pepper, and the feta cheese. You would think that this dish would be, you know, unbelievably difficult to deal with. It would be so strong, but what happens is the 4 together synergize with each other and they come up with a completely different dish. Now, the spaghetti here must be real al dente. 7 to 8 minutes is all we're going to cook it, as I said before. I have a friend of mine who, by the way, happens to be in the audience, Miles Osterneck, who came to a party recently, and I made this dish for him. It was when I first created it. We were at a benefit, and he came up to me later. He said, you know, I never really had al dente before. I thought I had. This is fantastic. So anyway, he's in the audience tonight, and so we're sort of dedicating this program to Miles Osterneck. Now, Poppy, how you doing?
I say we got another 2 minutes left.
Now, one of the things I want to talk about is anchovies. What did you do with these anchovies before?
You know, you get a pure taste of anchovies if you soak them in milk for a little while.
Right.
And then drain the milk off and soak them in water. And then squeeze all the water out and chop them up. You get the pure taste of anchovies.
Oh, which is wonderful.
You don't get all those bones, all that little nasty stuff.
Now, you know, if you go to Italy, almost every pizza place you go has anchovies on the pizza. You go to America, nowadays you can't even find anchovies. So don't be prejudiced against anchovies. If you do what Poppy said and you use them, you're going to find that they're wonderful. So we're about ready to start this dish right now. It's going to take about 4 minutes to cook. I keep having a problem with this olive oil here.
Yeah, it's scary.
Here we go. Now you cover the pan with a liberal amount of olive oil, number 1. That's the first thing you do. The second thing we do is we're going to add, it's getting hot, we're going to add this garlic. There's a lot of garlic. Or how many cloves, Poppy?
That's 18 cloves
18 cloves of garlic. That's a lot of garlic, isn't it? And we're going to cook this garlic until it becomes almost burnt. Okay?
Looks like it's being agitated.
Yeah, there's a dish we're going to make for you later called a arrabbiata, where we cook the garlic like this, but we cook it till it's really burnt, just about right before. This we're not going to burn it so much. We're going to. It's about ready right now. Can you see it?
Mm.
You see it in the camera? Now that's about ready. Now from there we're going to add the anchovies next. We're going to cook these anchovies together with the garlic. See how that's no good.
I love that smell.
If we had smell-o-vision, it'd even be better.
But if you don't just reach your hand in and grab the aroma and bring it right to your nose.
Now we're going to add the hot peppers.
Now it's really going to smell great.
By the way, you can use a lot of kinds of hot. There's green ones, there's red ones, there's little ones and big ones. The little ones are usually hotter than the big ones, so you have to work with them to find out what your tolerance level is. Now, I'm going to add a little more olive oil to this because what's happening is I didn't quite have enough. The best thing about cooking is that, as I said to you before, anybody can do it. It's not an exact science, so you can make mistakes. But if you're in the present and you're with it and you put your attention there, you're going to find out what's wrong and take care of it. What's the next thing we're going to add to this thing, Poppy?
Let's paint this paint with a little bit of the juice.
Tomato juice.
Tomato juice from
These
Hunt's
are from the Hunt's tomatoes, which we talked about before, that we feel are the finest tomatoes in the world. We're just going to use the juice here, not the actual tomato. Now,
this pasta will be ready.
the pasta's just about ready. And the sauce is just about ready. Let's taste that. How's that taste, Poppy? Best way to find out if your pasta is ready or not is to taste it. Some people say throw it on the wall. They have all kinds of things. Is it ready?
Yeah,
about another minute,
yeah,
right?
about another 30 seconds.
About 30 seconds to a minute left. This sauce, by the way, you want to keep the heat high on this. You want to keep the heat high. Okay, so now we're ready almost for the pasta. Now, what we're going to do here, we talked about in the past, we're going to take the pasta directly from here into here. And one of the secrets of this sauce is use some of the water from here. That makes the sauce even better. So now we're waiting for that. While we're waiting, the other ingredients are feta cheese, parsley, black pepper, and that's it. We're going to add these after we put the pasta into the sauce. And then we're going to serve it.
This pasta is ready, Mr. Longhi.
Is it ready? Okay, here we go. Now we take it directly from here. This was cooked for what, 5 minutes?
About 5.5.
And this is real al dente, which means it's very firm to the bite. If we have time, maybe we can have Miles come up here and test it and see whether or not it reaches has his approval. Because he's become an expert on amore, he tells me.
Did he bring his makeup artist with him?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Knowing Miles, he probably did. All right, here we go. Now we're going to mix these together, and we're going to have to add some things to it. What are we going to add to this first? We're going to add some feta cheese. Okay? Now remember, don't use too much pasta in relationship to your sauce, because if you do, it's not going to work for you. Now, this feta cheese, I never used much feta cheese being an Italian. We've always used Parmesan all my life, but several years ago, maybe 4 or 5, someone suggested, why don't you try feta once in a while in your pasta? And I sort of laughed at him. I said, okay, I'll try it. And I've come to love it. It's fantastic. It synergizes well. It melts well. It's got a great flavor, but it doesn't detract from the sauce or the dish. Now we're going to add some beautiful fresh parsley. Another thing is when you use herbs, always use them at the end. Don't put your herbs in first, because what happens then, they lose their taste. Put them in right at the end, right before you're going to serve the dish. Now I'm going to turn this heat down, because right now it's a little bit too hot. What else we got to add to this, Bobby?
Let's add a little black pepper to it.
Now we're going to add black pepper as soon as we shut the dish off, because as I said before, don't cook with black pepper. Wait till the dish is finished, then add your black pepper to it. Now we're adding the black pepper. And we have a dish that's called amore. And what does amore mean?
Amore means love from the heart.
This is love from the heart.
How did you come up with that dish?
I just thought about it one day, and it seemed to make sense to me, and somehow it worked. This is amore. We have time for...
Is Miles also
Miles
there?
here. Would you like to come up and and take a bite, Miles? You have a plate?
That's why I'm here, Bob.
Well,
I like your pasta.
we need a plate for you. I'll get you one right here. Here you go. Hold that for me.
I sure will.
Miles, by the way, has waited around here for 6 hours to be able to get on TV, but it's worth it.
I love to eat pasta.
And he loves to eat this
That's why
pasta.
I'm here.
There you go. Try that and let me know what you think.
Do I need a fork? Or?
We'll get your fork down there. Here we go.
Just remember, Miles, cook with love and eat with passion.
Now, the one thing we want to talk about, we've talked about before, is you can make a lot of mistakes in cooking because it's not an exact science. But if you stay in the present, you're going to be okay. How is it? Is it al dente enough?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Now, al dente means when you bite it, you can actually taste the inside. It's hard inside. Well, that's it for today. We're going to do another show in a few minutes, which we're going to show you, which is called putana. Very exciting dish. See you in a few moments. See you later, Poppy.
Aloha, Bob.
Aloha.
Let's cook with love and eat with passion.
Cook with love and eat with passion. See you again. Aloha, hi, I'm Bob Longhi. I'm back with you. We're talking about pasta for lovers. The first dish we showed you was called amore. Amore, as you knew, means love. Now, by the way, the dish we're going to do right now is called putana, and this dish takes 35 cloves of garlic. 35, is that right, Poppy?
Yes, it does.
You peeled them, so you know.
I peeled every one and counted.
35 cloves of garlic. So we're going to put it in right now because it takes about 4 or 5 minutes to cook these garlics, to cook the garlic. So we want to start this immediately. We have olive oil in here, extra virgin olive oil, which we showed you from Del Verde. And now we have 35 cloves of garlic in here, and the garlic is going to cook for about 4 or 5 minutes. Now, would you put the pasta in too, Poppy?
I will if you help me,
We're going to
Bob.
cook this pasta
And
for
by
7.
the way, aloha.
Aloha.
The aloha for this.
Oh, what is the aloha today?
The brightest light is love.
Oh, very good. Now, what we're trying to do is cook all of these dishes within 10 minutes. So today, this dish takes just about 10 minutes. So we wanted to have a little start on it. Poppy's putting in the salt and the olive oil into the pasta. We're going to use Del Verde pasta, which I talked about before from Abruzzi, Italy. We're going to use spaghetti. And we're going to cook it for 7 minutes because we want it real al dente. It says 12 minutes on the package, but we're only going to cook it for 7. So my suggestion is try to cook your pasta less than they say, because that way you're going to get a much better result. Now, this dish is a very famous dish. It originally was called puttanesca. Now, puttanesca is an Italian word, and what does it mean? Well, it means ladies of the night. The ladies who lived in Rome invented this dish, and they had to have a dish that had 2 things that was very important. Very, very important, these 2 things. The first thing was it had to be...
Stimulating.
Well, it had to be stimulating. That was the second thing, but you're all right. The first thing, it had to be quick, because they may have a trick or something of that nature around the corner, right? And it had to be stimulating because they didn't want to obviously eat pasta and fall asleep. So what we've done here is instead of using Romano cheese, which is the classic way of doing this dish, we're using feta cheese, which is a Greek dish. And what's the word in feta for puttanesca?
Well, we've called all over the island as putana.
Putana, right. We call all over the world to find it out. It's called putana. So we created this new dish called putana. It has 35 cloves of whole garlic. Now, you remember in the old days we talked about people didn't use a lot of garlic? Well, in the past 10 years, garlic has become very in, especially in California. And in California, you can go to a lot of restaurants and get what they call baked garlic. They take the baked garlic, they bake it, and then they serve it with toast. Well, this has the same effect as baked garlic, even though it's only sauteed garlic.
That's beautiful how it's turning brown.
It's almost getting ready. We're going to cook this for about another minute. This is cooking for 7 minutes. Remember, cooking is easy. Anybody can do it. You can make mistakes, you can do things of that nature, but if you put your attention where it belongs, you stay in the present and you're existential, you're going to have a great result. Now, the next thing we're going to put in here is going to be the anchovies. Then we're going to put in hot pepper. Now, see these little red peppers? This is a hot one. Some are green, some are red. You want hot pepper, but you have to go by your own taste. When Poppy makes this dish, he uses about 8 of them. I like to use about 1. So it all depends on your taste. You experiment with it and you'll find out how many you like.
You know what kind of pepper that is?
What is it?
That's a very small little hot pepper, red one.
That's right.
And they are red and hot.
And what is this?
Those are black olives from Sicily.
No, they're black olives from
From
Greece.
Greece. The green is from Sicily.
These are Greek olives, Kalamata olives. These are green olives from Sicily.
And these are so good.
Aren't they good? And they're going in later. Then we're going to put in some tomatoes. We're going to use the Hunt's whole tomatoes, which we prefer. Right here, these are great tomatoes. We love them. We're going to use these, the whole tomatoes, and we're going to use the juice. Then we're going to put in some feta cheese and some parsley, and that's about it. Dish is going to take about 10 minutes. The prep time is the longest thing on this dish because you got to take care of the garlic, which takes literally about maybe 5 minutes or so. Now we're ready for the anchovies. We put the anchovies, which Poppy has soaked in milk. We told you about that earlier. We let those cook for a few seconds. And we're going to turn the heat down a little bit. Because as you see, it's getting a little bit excited. Next, we're going to add these hot peppers. Now, when you add these hot peppers, what happens? You get a fantastic aroma. Isn't that great, Poppy? Can you smell it? Ooh, ooh. Now, this dish takes all of your attention. Remember, if you want to meditate, make this dish. Put your attention. Don't think about work. Don't think about anything else. Just think about cooking. 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, you're going to be one of the great cooks. Then we're going to add the black olives. It really doesn't matter which way you put them in. And then we're going to add the green olives next.
Now, Bob, I know a lot of people have tried this dish, and they buy pitted olives. These are all...
Oh, that's right. Very important.
These have pits in them, and you take them out.
And that's one of the more difficult things, not really difficult, but time-consuming, is pitting the olives. So I'd say the prep time for this with the olives and the garlic, I'm going to put the heat up a little bit more again, and I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil to it because it looks to me like it's a little dry. Again, that's what's so great about cooking. You can adjust it if you keep in the present. If you have to do something, you just do it. This needs a little more oil, so we'll put it in. How are we doing on that pasta?
I'd say we're getting about another minute here. This is El Diz.
That's 2 El Dente.
This is the guy that came into the restaurant and was sticking out of the plate like that.
I had an Italian guy come in one day. He was a restaurateur. He said, I want it real al dente. I said, like Abruzzi? He said, yes. So my guys cooked the pasta. When it came out, it was actually sticking up out of the pan. It was so stiff. He was so happy, he went back and he gave my cooks a $100 tip. First time that's ever happened that I can remember. So that's really al dente. And again, it gets back to your taste. But we find that if you do it about 7 minutes, this pasta, it's perfect. Now, what do we have to put in there next, Poppy? I think we're going to put in
this paint little
the
beautiful
tomatoes.
Hunt's tomatoes.
These beautiful Hunt's tomatoes.
All the cans we've opened, I've never seen them dull. They always have a bloom to them.
They're always nice and red, you mean?
The red with a bloom like a
And then you just cut them right up in the pan. Be careful about your pan, so use a dull knife. How are we doing with that? Another couple minutes?
About another minute.
All right, now we let these cook together for a few minutes. Then we're going to add the tomato juice after they cook down for a few minutes.
That looks beautiful.
And it's almost ready, this dish. Now this dish is dedicated to the ladies of the night, as we said before. First we did amore, which was a dish that we feel if you make that dish, you're going to be successful. And if you're not, then you can go to the puttana. Now we're going to put the orange juice in, the tomato juice. Again, as you probably noticed by watching us cook, we make a lot of mistakes. So don't be afraid about making mistakes, because that's part of the whole thing. It's not like, you make one mistake, you go, oh my God, I made a mistake, I got to start over. Just rectify it. Now we got the heat up here pretty high, and this sauce is just about getting ready to go. Now Poppy has the spaghetti. Let's take it out right now, Poppy. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. Here, I'll do it. When I let Poppy do it, he always puts too much in.
You call me a Jewish mother?
Yeah.
I'll accept that.
I've known Poppy for 20 years, and for 20 years I've been trying to get him to use less pasta, but it doesn't work. Of course, I'm a little sloppy here, as you can tell. By the way, this is pasta fork I mentioned before is a great tool. We're going to put a little bit more in, and then we're ready. 1 pound of pasta will serve 4 people a lot, and it will serve as many as 6 people. So pasta is one of the great things in the world. Where are my little spoons? Are right here.
Are you saying you need another scoop?
Huh?
One more thing?
No, no more. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
Well, let's save this for the kids.
Now we're going to add to this what now?
Let's add some parsley then.
We're going to parsley, and we're going to do feta cheese. I want to do feta first. So for the feta cheese, we're going to put in about half of this. Now remember, I haven't given you really any exact measurements for anything. It just gives you a general idea, but you can tell by looking at it just about how much you want to put in. The feta cheese melts beautifully in here. And again, the right way to make pasta is not to take the pasta, put it on a plate, and then pour the sauce over. The right way is to take the pasta right out of here, put it in here, and get some of that pasta water in there. That's one of the big secrets people don't really know about. That pasta water, what it does, we're going to put some right in here, it synergizes the dish and it makes it stick together better.
What does synergy mean?
Synergy is 1 and 1 equals 100. Or 1 and 1 is, the total is greater than the sum of its parts.
By adding magical stuff?
Right, like you take 2 ingredients, instead of getting 2 out of it, you get 8, because those 2 things work together and bring out the best in each one.
Thank you.
Now, the last thing we need here is some fresh parsley, and our dish is just about ready.
Smells delicious.
I got a little sloppy here, as you know. But what I'm doing on these shows is I'm showing everybody that you can make these dishes in 10 minutes. This dish is ready to go. This is called Putana, and it's dedicated to the women of the night in Rome and in Athens. So my suggestion to everybody here is take this dish, cook it just like I did it, try it out and see how you like it. I know you're going to love it. Cooking is easy. Anybody can do it.
Aloha, Bob.
Aloha, and what is the thing we're going to
let's
say
cook
every
with
time?
a lot
We're going to
of
cook with love.
And eat with a lot of passion.
We cook with love, and we eat with passion.
Let's put a little black pepper in.
Oh yeah, a little black pepper, and we shut the heat off. And there we go. We got a dish ready to go.
Voila.
Till our next show, I'm Bob Longhi, Poppy Morgan. Aloha.
Aloha.
From Lahaina, Maui, home to world-famous Longhi's restaurant, it's Cooking with Longhi. Join your host, Bob Longhi, and his old friend, celebrated restaurateur Poppy Morgan, as he shows you how anybody can be a great cook, using some of the secrets that have made Longhi's an enduring success for more than 20 years. And now from his home on historic Front Street, your host, Bob Longhi.
Aloha. Hi, I'm Bob Longhi. I'm talking to you from my home on Front Street in beautiful Lahaina, Maui. I'd like to introduce to you my old buddy, Poppy Morgan. How are you, Poppy?
Aloha, Bob.
What's the aloha today, Poppy?
May peace of mind always be yours.
May peace of mind always be yours.
Let's cook with some love, Bob.
We're going to cook with love. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 dishes in the next series, and these 2 dishes are completely different. One is very smooth, and one is very agitated. The first one we're going to talk about is called the quintessential macaroni and cheese Italian style. Now, we're going to do all these dishes in 10 minutes. So the pasta takes about 6 minutes to cook. We're going to use this Del Verde pasta, which I've talked about in the past. The interesting thing about this is called zita. And it's almost impossible today to find zita that's not cut. This is a long zita. It's a little more difficult to deal with, but believe me, it's worth it. It's a beautiful thing. Now, Poppy, we're going to put this in first. Poppy's going to put in the olive oil, and he's going to put in the salt. Why do we do that, Poppy?
Just to flavor it and keep it nice and smooth and lubricated.
That's right. It's going to lubricate it. It's going to flavor it. We're going to put this in first, and then we're going to start the dish. Here you go. You want to smooth that out, Poppy? All right, now this dish has about 7 or 8 ingredients. First, we have olive oil. We're going to only use extra virgin olive oil, as we talked about before. It has anchovies. It has garlic, which is slivered garlic, like amandine. Tomatoes, tomato juice. And we're going to use 2 kinds of cheese. This is American cheese. We're going to use Monterey Jack and cheddar. And then we're going to put a little bit of cayenne pepper in it and finally finish it off with some black pepper. Now this dish, we created this dish about a year ago, and we've been featuring it in one of our other shows, and it's a terrific dish. As you know, macaroni and cheese is probably the most popular dish in America, at least when you cook at home. Everybody loves macaroni and cheese. There's hardly an American who hasn't had macaroni and cheese all their life. This is going to be a little different twist. because of the things we're putting in that make it differently. So when your family comes home or you cook for your family, you can say, hey, we have macaroni and cheese tonight. And they'll go, well, gee, we had that, 3 weeks ago. We've had it 2 weeks ago. We had it last week. You can say, yes, but this is a different version. This is the quintessential macaroni and cheese Italian style. So the first thing we're going to do is heat up the pan, and then we're going to add this olive oil. Now add a liberal amount of olive oil so that it covers up the whole bottom of the pan. We're going to heat up the olive oil for a few minutes, and then we're going to add the garlic to it. Now this garlic has been slivered like almondine. How many cloves of garlic we got here, Poppy?
About 12 cloves.
About 12 cloves of garlic. And we're going to cook this garlic till it's blonde. Now the next dish we're going to cook, called arrabbiata, we're going to cook the garlic until it's almost burnt. This is a different dish. This is a mellow dish. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cook this till it's blonde.
Let's make it mellow.
How are we doing on that pasta?
We got about another 4 minutes.
Now remember, when you're cooking your pasta, try to stir it as much as you can to keep it so that it doesn't stick. Now the big ziti don't stick much together because they're very large. If you have a smaller pasta like spaghettini or capellini, you want to stir that more often. Now that's about ready to go. We're going to add the anchovies. Now, Poppy, what did you do with those anchovies?
I soaked those in milk for about an hour. And then I drained the milk off and soaked them in water and then dried them up and chopped them and give a pure taste of anchovy when you do that.
Probably hard to hear a little bit here because we're getting all this action from the anchovies.
Well, I'll speak louder.
Because see, it still has some moisture on it. When you have moisture with the olive oil, obviously it's going to do a little bit of splattering. Next, we're going to add, after that cooks in for a while, we're going to add the tomato. We're going to add the tomato, the whole tomatoes. We're going to wait a few seconds on this. Boy, this thing's doing a real number. You getting a picture of that? Now I'm going to add the tomatoes.
Those look like those beautiful Hunt's tomatoes.
These are these beautiful Hunt's tomatoes. We talked about in other shows how we checked around all over the world for the best tomatoes, and we came to the conclusion the finest we could find were Hunt's. I need to get a fork and spoon here. Great, there's no fork. And I cut these right in the pan. Can you hear the water go off?
You know, the water's going. I hope.
Get a good picture of that? We let that cook for a few moments, and then we're going to add the tomato juice. This is the juice from the tomatoes from the Hunt's. As we said in a previous show, we investigated many, many, many tomatoes, and we came up with the conclusion that these Hunt's tomatoes, which are whole tomatoes in their juice, are the best. And as I said before, we've checked all the pastas in the world, and we came up with the conclusion that Del Verde was the best. At Longhi's restaurant, we never change a product unless we do a blind testing on it. We blind tested for several times before we came to the conclusion that these things were the best. All right, how are we doing there? We got about two or three more minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay. Now, the secret of this sauce now, we're going to add, at this moment, in a few minutes, we're going to add these two cheeses. You can put in the white one first, the yellow one doesn't really matter. And then these cheeses are going to cook for about a minute or two, and they're going to melt and synergize. So now I'm going to put in the Monterey Jack. Don't use too much cheese. This is approximately ½ pound each. That's about the maximum you want to use. And remember, all these recipes that we're showing you, we use 1 pound of spaghetti or 1 pound of ziti or 1 pound of pasta, and that's enough to serve 4 people a lot of food, or you can even serve up to 6 or 8 if you're not going to be, if they're not super hungry type people. Now, when this is in here, you want to start stirring, and I said to you before, I like using these wooden spoons because they're easy to deal with. Now you notice it's melting in there real nice. Now,
I want to talk a minute about preparation.
Yeah, go ahead, Poppy.
Because I saw like those anchovies splattered when I said I didn't personally do the prep today. So I usually drain those anchovies.
Right, okay.
But preparation is everything. If you can be ready to feed 100 people if you prepare right, but if you don't prepare right, you can't feed 2 people.
It gets back to, if you want to be a great cook, you have to do 3 things. What do we say? The first is you have to have desire, and the second you have to have a plan, which means preparation. And as I said to you before, the third is you must put your attention where it belongs.
And the fourth is you got to put a lot of love in.
Now I got to turn this heat down here.
That's starting to look beautiful. That's perfect amount of cheese in there.
Yeah, it worked out good. Now,
Your pasta.
this sauce is almost ready. All we're going to really add to it now is going to be a little cayenne pepper. Now remember, cayenne pepper is very hot, and everybody has a different desire how much cayenne pepper they want. My daughter Jennifer, who's 10 years old, she doesn't like things too hot, so we don't use much cayenne pepper with her. My girlfriend Deborah, she likes it very, very hot, so we put more in when she's eating it. So everybody has a different desire or a different taste. We about ready for that? These are ready. Now remember,
It's a little tricky.
this is a little tricky to get out. Actually, Poppy's the expert, but he only has one hand to use, so he showed me how the best way to do it.
But it's always the right hand, Bob.
It's always the right hand, right? Now, you notice that I'm getting some of the water right into the pan. That's okay. Don't worry about that, because as I said to you before, water from here is one of the great things for the pasta because it helps synergize it. We're going to do, we got a few more left here.
Wait a minute, listen. Okay, go ahead.
What?
I mean, usually ones that hold back.
That's enough.
That's enough.
All right, that's almost the whole pound. Okay, now we're going to take that and we're going to mix this together. Excuse me. You know, I talked to you in previous shows about when you're cooking, you're not going to be perfect all the time. You're going to make mistakes. But if you stay in the present and you're existential about it, you're going to be able to rectify those mistakes. So far, we've done pretty good on this show. Now, isn't that beautiful? It looks like it's a little bit hard to handle, which it was at first, but it's worth it because it gives you a terrific result when you eat it. You just take those Jositas and
Suck 'em
suck
in,
'em right
yeah.
up. That's right. Now, the last thing we're going to do for this, or actually the last two things, is we're going to use some cayenne pepper right now.
Kids love those pops.
So I got the cayenne pepper in here for the liberal amount, because I like it sort of spicy. And then we're going to shut the heat off in a few seconds, and we're going to add black pepper. And I said to you before, we don't cook with black pepper, because it's an irritant. We only put it on after the dish is finished. Now, you got it off, Poppy?
So,
We're going to add a little bit of black pepper to it. We're going to shake that up a little bit. And there's your dish. This is called macaroni and cheese, the quintessential macaroni and cheese, Italian style with a little twist to make it different from most macaronis and cheese. What do you think?
I think we should cook with love and eat with passion, Bob.
That's right. Cook with love and eat with passion. And remember, anybody can be a great cook. All you have to do is have the desire, follow the recipes, and put your attention where it belongs. We'll be right back with another dish, which is the sort of the opposite of this dish. It's called penne arrabbiata, one of the great dishes of the world, which means agitated. So looking forward to seeing you. See you in a few moments. Aloha. Aloha. Hi, I'm Bob Longhi. I'm talking to you from my home here in Front Street in beautiful Lahaina, Maui. Before we start, I'd like to introduce to you my old buddy, Poppy Morgan. How are you, Poppy?
Aloha, Bob.
Poppy, you know, is the Aloha man. What's the Aloha today?
Love, may love always be with you.
Love, may love always be with you. Wonderful, wonderful thing.
And just remember, Bob, if we cook with love, everybody around you will love what you cook.
That's right. We've been doing that for 20 years at Longhi's Restaurant, cooking with love. Now, I'm going to talk today to you about a dish that's extremely famous. It's called penne arrabbiata. Penne arrabbiata, which means agitated. By the way, Poppy, don't agitate me today.
One more time, let me agitate you.
All right, okay, so today we're going to talk about penne arrabbiata, one of the simplest dishes in the world. It only has about 6 ingredients. But I cooked this dish for a year and was not able to get it properly done. Finally, Piero Resta, who's a local artist here, whose mother introduced me to the dish, showed me the secret. We're going to show you that secret today. But before we do that, we got to get started because we got to do this dish in 10 minutes. Today we're using penne from the wonderful company Del Verde. They did a blind test about 3 years ago in New York City, and everybody picked Del Verde as the best pasta in the world. So we're going to use that. We've been using it at Longhi's for the past year, and it's a wonderful pasta. This pasta says 7 minutes. We always cook it about a minute less because we like it al dente. So I'm putting it into the boiling water where Poppy has already put some olive oil and salt into it. By the way, these pennes look like this. Okay? Now, this dish starts out with olive oil. As you know, we use extra virgin olive oil. All of our cooking, we use olive oil. Now, the secret to this dish is how you cut the garlic and how long you cook it. Now, here is a bunch of garlic. We don't need all this. We're going to use the equivalent of about 15 cloves of garlic. We want to get that oil nice and hot, and then you're going to see the garlic is going to start to cook. And we want to cook it until it's almost burnt. There's only about 10-second window in there that we have to stop it. Once it's almost burnt, we're going to add to it hot peppers. What kind of peppers are these, Poppy?
Boy, those are little tiny red hot peppers.
That's right. These are tiny red hot peppers. They have green peppers. They have yellow peppers. Find a nice hot pepper. They're different all over the world. The next thing we're going to add after we do that, we're going to add tomatoes, some tomato juice, and some parsley. And that's basically the dish.
I can always tell those Hunt's tomatoes, even from a distance, they have such a glow to them.
They have a wonderful glow. These are Hunt's tomatoes that we use at Longhi's. And again, we did blind testing on it. We found these were the best. Now this pasta, while it's cooking, while this is happening, this is starting to happen, we're going to get a camera right on this. Now this is a terrific existential experience. If you want to meditate, make this dish. Put all of your attention into it for 10 or 15 minutes, and you're going to be meditating. You don't have to go to India. You don't have to find a guru. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Just make this dish, and you're meditating. Now, Poppy is going to show you the proper way to use a knife. 20 years ago, when I started Longhi's restaurant, Poppy was one of the great restaurateurs. He had the great American food and beverage restaurants in L.A. He was gracious enough to show me how to use a knife properly and all of my staff. And since then, our people are now using the knife right, and we find that many, many people don't use the knife right. Even on cooking shows that we see, they don't use the knife right. So, Poppy, I'm going to give you this knife.
I always find if you shake hands with a knife, make a friend out of it. You're going to hold it right. When you hold a knife, you hold it with these 3 fingers holding the wooden part. And then these 2 fingers guide the blade and control it. And if you look at a knife under a microscope, it looks like a saw. So you never push down, you always go in a motion.
That it?
Yeah, that's it. These 3 fingers hold the wood, and these 2 fingers hold the blade.
And then how do you...
And then you cut like this on a sliding motion. You never push down. And if you want to push down, get a cleaver and hack down.
All right, now this knife is an 8-inch French knife. Costs anywhere from $40 to $100 depending on the make. We suggest that you buy one of these quickly because it's a terrific tool to have. Let me put this over here and out of the way. Now, would you get the camera back on this? Now, see this garlic? This garlic is getting to the point where it's almost burnt, but not quite. All right, we want to get this to it right to that space. When it's perfect, we're going to add the hot pepper, which is going to give us a terrific smell. Now, you see this? This is real exciting to me because trying to get it perfect is fun. We only have, as I said, about a 10-second window of opportunity here to get it really right. And by doing it this way, you get a completely different taste. Garlic is different depending how you use it. So far, we've shown you different ways. The last recipe was slivered, where it was more bland. This is going to be more exciting. Now, another important thing about this dish is always keep your heat very high, okay? You want this to be high because this is dish, arrabbiata means agitated, okay?
What's it mean?
Agitated.
Oh, you mean you want to get agitated?
Like agitated. Okay, see it here? You got it on the camera? It's just about right. Let me see my heat. Is it high enough? Okay, now we're going to add the hot peppers. Now, when we add the hot peppers, boom, right away, you notice there's a big... Smell it?
Is that smell-o-vision on? Let's get that smell-o-vision going. They can smell it out there in Wonderland.
Well, we're going to have smell-o-vision someday.
Let me do it for you. Reach into the pot, grab the aroma, and bring it right to your nose. You don't even have to eat this. It's so good. Smell is great.
All right, now that we've got this ready, we're going to add the tomatoes. These are Hunt's tomatoes. These are whole tomatoes. And they're cooked in their juice. Now, again, you see how that... Now this pan is active. See how active it is? We want to keep it active. And then as I showed you in all our other shows, you just cut it up with a dull knife. Cut it with a dull knife. Let all the juice come out. Mix it in with the sauce.
Perfect timing. 1 more minute.
How are we doing with that pasta?
1 minute.
Okay. We let that cook for a few seconds. Then we're going to add the tomato juice. Now, this dish is almost finished. We've only used about 4 different things. I went all over the world trying to find penne arrabbiata the way that I experienced and the way I liked it. No one cooked it right. So I finally went to Rome, to this very fancy, famous restaurant. I said, hey, I've been looking for penne arrabbiata. Nobody knows how to make it. The guy said, I do. I said, all right, make it for me. Well, that day, I ate for 4 hours. It was the longest meal of my life. The manager came out. The owner came out. And they couldn't believe this guy here. I'm eating and eating and eating. And most of it was penne arrabbiata because they did it perfectly. So if you can get this dish down right, you're going to have a great, great, great dish. Now, how are we doing, Poppy?
We are ready.
We're almost ready for this, okay?
Ready. Want to taste one?
Let me just look at it. Now, by the way, the best way to test pasta, as you know, is to, let's put a couple down here, is to taste it. You can do all kinds of other methods. You can throw it against the wall. You can do that. But the best way is to taste it. Is it ready? Okay, now we're going to take this directly from here, and we're going to put it right in the sauce.
That Del Verde is such an elegant pasta. It's got such a thin wall to that.
Exactly right. If you notice, the walls of the Del Verde pasta are thinner than most pastas. Therefore, it cooks quicker, it is less filling, and it has an elegance to it. We call it the elegant pasta. Now we're going to keep adding. Now, see what I'm doing here? You notice that some of the water is going into the sauce? That's good. You want that water in there. And again, as I mentioned in a lot of my other shows, do not drain the pasta. Bring it directly from here into here. That way you're going to get it it's the best, by far.
I truly believe I can taste the love in there that they use when they make that.
In the pasta.
The water is so clear you can...
When I was in Italy this summer, I mentioned before, I went to this company, had lunch, and the president got me some water from the mountain where they get their water. It was the greatest water I ever had in my life. I drank about 4 glasses of it. It was so good. Now we're going to take this little fellow, we're going to mix it all together like we always do. And always mix your pasta in the pan. Don't take the pasta, put it over here in another plate, and then pour sauce over it. That's really not the right way to do it. This way it synergizes, and you by far get the best return, the best result. Now, what are we going to add more to this, Poppy?
Let's put some parsley in there.
We're going to put some parsley in here. Nice. Again, if you can find Italian parsley, it's called curly parsley. It's flatter. That's even better. It has more flavor. It's difficult to find in Hawaii, but many places you can find it easily. I'm going to put a little bit more in.
What a beautiful painting that is.
This is pretty, isn't it?
Yeah. Such a simple dish. Oh, I want that one.
You know, we always talk about anybody can be a great cook. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. We're a pretty good example up here because we goof off a lot, but the results are usually pretty good because we put our attention where it belongs. We don't worry about little things that are happening. We make sure we do the dish right.
You goof off, I'm totally straight.
Poppy is always right. That's right. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to shut off the heat and we're going to put some black pepper in here because I've told you before, we don't cook with black pepper because it's an irritant. We use it after the dish is cooked. So now we have one of the most classic dishes in the world, which I believe is done the right way, at least the way I like it, and I'm sure you're going to like it. Do it the way I showed you first. If you don't like it, try another method. This is called penne arrabbiata. So cook with love.
And eat with passion, Bob.
Until our next show, aloha.
From Lahaina, Maui, home to world-famous Longhi's restaurant, it's Cooking with Longhi. Join your host, Bob Longhi, and his old friend, celebrated restaurateur Poppy Morgan, as he shows you how anybody can be a great cook, using some of the secrets that have made Longhi's an enduring success for more than 20 years. And now from his home on historic Front Street, your host, Bob Longhi.
Aloha. Hi, I'm Bob Longhi, talking to you from my home here in beautiful Lahaina, Maui. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce to you my old buddy, Poppy Morgan. How are you, Poppy?
Aloha, Bob.
What's the aloha today,
The
Bob?
aloha today is, may we live in love and harmony.
May we live in love and harmony. Well, how can anything be better than
And
that?
if we cook with love, everybody that eats our food is going to love it.
And they're going to be in harmonious.
And they're going to be harmonious.
All right, very good. Now, we're going to talk about a dish today that's one of Italy's greatest dishes. Matter of fact, you can find it throughout America also, and it's called vongole verace, which means clam pasta in the shell. It's not out of the shell, doesn't have any cream in it. It's a very simple dish, but it's a fabulous dish. We're going to use it today with the linguine. Now, as you know, you've probably heard on these programs, we use Del Verde pasta because we feel it's the finest pasta in the world. And this particular one we're going to use is called linguine number 12. It says 6 minutes to cook it. We're going to cook it about 5 because we like it very, very al dente. So don't put it in quite yet, Poppy, but we'll put it in a minute. Now, this dish is simple. It takes fresh clams. By the way, very easy to deal with clams. You just buy some at the supermarket, take them home, wash them for about 2 minutes in cold water, running water, and that should be enough. If they have some grit in them, then you have to deal with them a little longer. So go to another store next time and buy one that doesn't have any grit in it. Why make your life difficult? And number two, after that, we're going to have olive oil. We're going to use olive oil. We're going to use clams. We're going to use a little bit of garlic. We're going to use a little bit of parsley, a little bit of butter, and a little bit of tomato, which is optional. And this dish is unbelievably beautiful, very, very simple to do, and very quick. Let's put the pasta in right now. Now, Poppy's already added some olive oil. Are you going to add the olive oil now?
Not too much.
Going to add a little olive oil to the water, and he's going to add a little salt to the water, which I think he's already done. No, he hasn't. Okay.
Yeah, but he's just joking around.
Want me to help you with that?
Got it.
Now, see these pasta forks? We talked about these before. These are beautiful. In the meantime, I'm going to take this pan and put it on the heat,
Grab
get it
that.
started.
Thank you for the help.
All right.
I love their packaging.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It reminds me of the Beverly Hills Hotel. Elegant, elegant.
It's called Del Verde because it comes from the mountain. It's called the Green Mountain. And the water there is the most fabulous water I've ever drunk in my life. It's just terrific. Now, we're going to heat this up for a few minutes, and then we're going to add the olive oil to it. Now, one of the things about this dish, you don't want to get it too hot before you put the clams in, because if you do, you're going to get a lot of splattering. So we're just going to heat that up for a few seconds. Then we're going to add the clams. We may cover the pan, or we may not, depending on whether or not the clams are going to open quickly or not. If you cover it, they'll open up faster. If you don't, it takes about 3 or 4 minutes. Then we're going to add some garlic. We're going to add some white wine, which I forgot to mention before. And by the way, you can use any kind of white wine you like. I happen to like a white wine that's not too dry. I like it a little bit more on the fruity side because I feel it gives it a better taste. Another great thing to do in cooking is experiment. Use different kinds of white wine. It makes it fun. That way you can have your own unique dish. How are we doing there? Good? Stir that up a little bit.
Yeah, we've got another 4 minutes.
Now, there's about 40 clams in here, which I'm going to just pour right in here right now.
If they start spitting at you, they don't want to be dead yet, so I'm going to stand back.
I also, as I told you before, I like cooking with these wooden spoons. And this is 40 clams, which just about fills up this 10-inch pan. We're going to let these cook for a few moments, and make sure you keep the camera on this, because when they open up, it's beautiful to watch. Now, while that is cooking, I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. This is chopped up garlic. You can use garlic from a garlic press, or whatever way you want. I like it chopped for this particular dish. And as I've told you in the past, the way you treat your garlic determines the taste. We showed you a arrabbiata earlier. A arrabbiata, you chop it. We showed you the macaroni and cheese, you slice it. We showed you the pomodoro, you put it in a garlic press. We showed you the putana, we used whole garlic. They're all different, and they all give you a different result, but they're still all garlic. Now, we're going to let that cook for a minute, and hopefully these are going to start to open. Now, all the dishes that we've done in this program, and in all of our programs, have taken less than 10 minutes. Now, the prep time in this dish before you start it is about 10 minutes. So for 20 minutes, you can come home. You don't have to go to the freezer. You don't have to take a microwave oven and get something that's cooked, 2 years ago maybe. This is fresh. Everything is fresh. It's not expensive, and it's just fabulous. So we're going to let this cook. Here's one opening already. See how they're opening? If, by the way, after a while they do not open, don't use those, because it means that there's probably something wrong with them. So this dish is great for your family. It's quick, it's inexpensive, and it's delicious. How are we doing?
Very high in protein, too.
Very high in protein. Okay? There's no meat, by the way, in any of these dishes. So if you're a vegetarian, or at least some people are vegetarians, eat fish, you have it made here. If you don't eat fish, our other recipes don't have fish in it, and they're real vegetarian dishes.
Here they go.
We got one coming up here. We got one coming up here. Now, after these open up, no, I'm going to give it about another 30 seconds, then I'm going to add this wine. By the way, the wine we're using here is called a Trebbiano di Abruzzi, which actually is the same area that the pasta comes from. It's not so famous for wine. It's very famous for pasta. But this is a nice wine. It's got a little fruitiness to it, and it brings out a terrific flavor. The interesting thing about these clams, too, by the way, is everybody has different clams. If you go over Italy, they all say, oh, we got the best, we got the best. In Italy, usually they use smaller clams. These clams, I think, are from Washington State. We also get them from the East Coast. You can get them from New Zealand. They're all great, whatever you use. And you can also use this dish with mussels. Now, what's happening is all the juice is coming out of here. So we're going to add now some white wine. We don't need a lot of it. Just going to liberally put it in there. We're going to let that cook together for a few more minutes. And this dish, by the way, is getting pretty close to being finished. We have the garlic, the olive oil, and now the white wine. Then we're going to add the parsley to it, and we're going to add just a few little tomato bits. Now, you can also take the pomodoro sauce that we showed you in our first lesson, in our first show, and you can add a little bit of the pomodoro to it. I don't like doing that so much because I think it distracts from this flavor and it overpowers it. But if you go to many restaurants in America and you get red clam sauce, all they're really doing is taking the marinara that they make, throwing it into here, and I don't really like that so much. So we came up with the idea of using fresh tomatoes in it, if you want a tomato taste. Now this guy's about ready. How are we doing?
I would say, Bob, that if they didn't have fresh tomatoes, you could also use the Hunt's.
You can also use the Hunt's in here if you want. The ones we talked about before. Now we put a few little tomatoes in here. We're going to let this cook another few minutes. How's the pasta coming?
We got about 1 more minute.
1 more minute. And remember, we like our pasta al dente, which means firm to the bite. And the best way to tell is to take some of it like this. Ooh. Burn your hands every time, but it's worth it. And taste it. It's very good.
That's about ready.
When it's al dente properly done, you can taste the inside. It's like a little line right there. And that's very firm to the bite. Okay, let's stop that heat. Take the heat off. Well, what I'm going to do here for 1 minute is I'm going to cover this just to make sure we get all those clams open. And I'm going to cook it for another about 15 or 20 seconds. Then I'm going to add the parsley to it, a little bit of butter, black pepper, and then we're going to put the linguine directly from here, as we've done at every show, into here with some of that water. And then when we finish, we're going to have a great dish. You know, I talked to you before that anybody can be a great cook. All you got to do is be in the present, put all of your energy where it belongs, do it right, and have a desire. If you do all of those things, you can't miss.
What a great meditation.
It's the best. And I've been telling Poppy, and he and I, we go around the island here. We've had a show for about a year, and we get stopped by everybody. It's a lot of men. It seems about 80% of the people that stop us are men, and they say, you know, you've changed my life. I didn't know cooking was so easy. So the raison d'etre of our cooking shows is to show everybody that anybody can be a cook. It's real easy. You don't have to be a great trained chef. You don't have to be a restaurateur, culinary expert, any of that stuff. As I used to say, you don't have to be a 250-pound lineman. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to have a PhD. You just got to be a person. And if you're a person that wants to be a cook, you can be a cook. So let's take this top off here. I don't want to burn my hand. And we'll put this over here for now.
Oh,
now, look at that.
That's
You get a nice
beautiful.
picture of that? We're going to add a little bit of butter to this. Just about, here we go. About this much butter. Get in there, you guys. Why we put the butter in is strictly for flavor. Butter has a wonderful flavor. Now, some people make this dish with butter instead of olive oil, which is okay too. But I like it this way because this, I feel, is a more classic way and is the way that gets it best, to get the best result. Now, we're going to put the parsley in. We're ready to go. Let's go, Poppy. Now, as we do it all the time, we take the pasta directly from there, and we put it directly into the sauce.
You can smell the juice from the clams. What a nice smell there.
There you go. Where's my other one of these? Give me another one of those. You got one of those?
I hid it from you.
I lost my other spoon, so we just have to improvise here. Okay, that's it. It's mixing in nice, beautifully. We're going to finish it off with a bunch of parsley, and that's the dish. This dish is called bungali borrachi, or another way of saying it is clam sauce with linguine. So remember, this is one of Italy's greatest dishes, and it's become one of America's greatest dishes. So cook with love.
And eat with passion, Bob.
Eat with passion.
And aloha to you.
And cook with love. And aloha to everyone. I hope you like this dish. When we come back, we're going to do one of the most world-famous dishes that we've ever created. It's called shrimp longhi, of all things, if you can imagine that. So I hope to see you soon where we're going to do shrimp longhi. Aloha. Aloha. Hi, I'm Bob Longhi. I'm talking to you from my home here in beautiful Lahaina, Maui. I'd like to introduce to you my old buddy, Poppy Morgan, how are you, Poppy?
Aloha, Bob.
You're the Aloha man. What's it today?
Thank you for letting me see the light in you, and thank you for seeing the light in me.
That's too hard for me to repeat.
Yeah, I can't repeat it myself again, so...
Today we're going to talk to you about a dish that I've had at Longhi's restaurant for the last 20 years. We started in 1976, and it's called Shrimp Longhi. And we've sold over 500,000 orders in 20 years. That's a lot of shrimp.
Are you sure it's not Longman shrimp?
No, it's not Shrimp Longman, it's Shrimp Longhi, and we're going to keep it that way, Poppy. But anyway.
500,000 yards, we can go for Longman.
That's right. Well, we'll switch someday. But right now, it's Shrimp Longhi. And this has been one of actually our most popular dish. And I want to show everybody how to cook it. It's very simple. Takes about 5 or 6 minutes. And it's a dish that we're going to serve on garlic toast. And once I get started, Poppy's going to show you how to make garlic toast. So the first thing we do with this dish is obviously we put the heat on. We use butter. We do not use olive oil. Now, if you use butter and it starts to burn on you, the secret is to add a little olive oil to it. So if you cook with butter and olive oil, you can always get a lot better result. But we're going to try to use just butter tonight. And in the butter, first thing we're going to do is put the butter in. Let's do that first. We're going to let this butter melt for a while. Then we're going to add these shrimp. Now, you notice the shrimp, they've got a little bit of flour on them. The only reason we have flour is because we want the sauce to thicken slightly. If you put too much flour, that's not good because it'll become gummy. So be very judicious with the use of flour. Next thing we're going to add after that, we're going to add some white wine. And we're going to use the same wine we used last in the clam sauce. It's called Trebbiano di Abruzzi, the same place that the pasta comes from, Del Verde. Now, some people like this dish with pasta. We're not going to do that tonight, but you can also use it with pasta. If you use it with pasta, put some garlic in the sauce. We're not putting garlic in the sauce because we're going to use garlic toast, which Poppy's going to talk about. So this butter is starting to melt. Once the butter is melting nice, we're going to add the shrimp, and we're going to brown the shrimp for about 4 or 5 minutes. Then we're going to hit it with white wine, some fresh tomato, some basil and lemon, and that's the dish. Now again, this is one of those great meals that's not very expensive, it's extremely quick, and it's very, very, very delectable. So when you come home at night, you can do the whole dish in 20 minutes. Every one of the dishes I've shown you can be cooked in 10 minutes, and I've actually proven it by doing it here. I didn't know whether I could do it or not, but this is our 8th one, and they're all working, so that's good. Now there's your butter. We don't want to get the butter so that it burns too much. Just add these to it. I always use my hands. I guess you're supposed to use if you're on national TV, I guess you should use a tong or something.
Oh, for on national TV, the aloha is, I see your light, and I thank you for seeing mine.
What is that?
That's aloha.
What, the first one
The
was
one
wrong?
I messed up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If we're on
Well, that's a good one, too.
Yeah, if we're on national TV, I want to say it right.
Now, see, this butter is going to burn on me a little bit, so I'm just going to add a pinch of olive oil to it. Okay? That in no way will affect the sauce negatively. Let me get rid of this thing. I don't like this thing. Now, Poppy, why don't you show them while I'm doing this
Okay, I'm
how
going
to make the garlic bread.
Okay, this is the basic garlic bread, garlic toast, but you can add many variations. I take about a cube of butter and about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, about 8 cloves of garlic. I let it melt up, get it like room temperature, and I spread it on my bread. Now, for garlic toast, you can just take this and toast it. But if you want to do a variation, toast it and then put Parmesan cheese or feta cheese, or even mozzarella and toast it again. But this time we're making a pure Longhi garlic toast.
What about basil and herbs of that
You can
nature?
use basil. You just play with it. That's opening your creative mind. You learn the basics, then open that creative mind, and you have whole new secrets to you. Interesting, Bob and I have both been cooking for years and years, and also studying metaphysics. And what a combination. Bob's come with this idea of meditation and food. It's so exciting.
Putting a little more butter in this, as you can see, because I don't want it to get dry on me. Now, another thing about shrimp, don't overcook your shrimp. Many, many people cook shrimp. If you overcook it, it'll become tough on you. So just cook it for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Now, this is going to be the last show in our series. We've done now 7 recipes in the new series. And our raison d'etre, as we said from the beginning, was to teach everybody or talk to everybody about how easy it really is to be a cook. Anybody can be a good cook. All you really got to do is put your attention where it belongs and know what you're doing. Now, if you follow these recipes the way I've showed you, I think you're going to get terrific results. As an example, this dish has become so popular that many other restaurants are using it. I've had people call me and they said, hey, can we use your recipe, Bob? And I said, sure, you can use it. Makes me happy to use it. This is about ready to turn over. We turn these over when they get golden brown. I'm not too happy with this. See how they're nice and golden brown? After they become golden brown, we're going to hit them with a white wine. Then we're going to put some tomatoes in, and we're going to put some fresh basil. Now, this dish is especially, you should have fresh basil. Now, if you use dried basil, as I said in a previous show, what do you do with dried basil, Poppy?
Well, if you had two hands, you take it and rub it together and heat it up and put it back in there.
You put it between the palms of your hand, rub your palms together, and that brings out all of the flavor in the dried basil. Okay, now we're just about ready.
Those are beautiful when they turn
Aren't
brown.
they beautiful?
Like.
See the color here? You got a nice picture of that one? Now, these are about ready now to hit with a white wine. So we're going to hit it with a white wine. We're going to keep our heat high. Ah. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit it with some lemon juice. Oh, does that smell good? Does that smell good? Just a quarter of a lemon is plenty. Then we're going to put some tomato bits in it. These are fresh tomatoes. Now, if you don't have fresh tomatoes, you can use the most consistent tomatoes in the world, and those tomatoes are called Hunts. You can use the whole tomatoes, chop them up, and put them in here, and you'll get a terrific result also. And the last thing we're going to put in this dish, as we said before, is some nice, beautiful, fresh basil. Always use your herbs at the end.
Bob, you handle your food with so much love. It's not only you cook with love, but you touch it with love.
Well, thanks.
That's very exciting.
Well, I've been cooking for a long time. I was in the insurance business for 20 years, you know, and I came to Maui for 3 days, and I never left. That was 20 years ago, and went into the restaurant business. And I always thought that cooking was so much fun. I figured, well, if it's so much fun, let's make some money out of it. And thank God, it's been a very successful venture for me, and I want to thank everybody for the last 20 years for coming to Longhi's and enjoying our food. And Poppy here has been a great friend of mine and a great help to me. Poppy was one of the great restaurateurs in the world. Poppy helped me get started, set up my kitchen, and did terrific things for me 20 years ago.
Oh, you do see the light.
So congratulations, and thanks a lot, Poppy.
My pleasure, Bob. You're the best student I ever had.
Well, thank you.
Now I'm learning from you.
This is our last show for a while, and we're going to come out with more shows later. We're going to show you some more of the recipes that, again, have made Longhi's famous over the last 20 years. This dish is almost ready to go. I'm going to add just a little bit more white wine to it because I want to make it a little more moist. How are you doing with the garlic toast?
We are ready.
All right, you've had that in for about 3 minutes?
Ready.
All right.
And
the garlic
voila,
toast.
it turns out on the
There's the
platter.
garlic
What
toast.
magic that is.
It's like magic. That's actually the only time in the cooking shows that we've done today that we sort of cheated a little bit. I watch all these cooking shows, and everybody always puts something in the oven, and then magically it comes out 10 minutes later. Well, we just did that. Poppy did show you the actually, the one he just made is right here, which looks pretty good, too. So that's a simple thing to do. Now, I'm going to take this right now, and we're going to just pour it right over this dish here, and we're going to have ourselves some shrimp longhi. By the way, we're going to add a little bit of black pepper to it. I haven't mentioned this much on these shows yet, but there's a lot of pepper mills, as you know, and I sort of hate pepper mills because most of them don't work. I like to go to the supermarket and buy this cracked black pepper. And it just comes in a jar like this, and it's beautiful.
The pepper mill works more than the stove does, buddy.
All right, here we go. We're all set. I'm going to pour these right over here.
Beautiful.
And we've got ourselves some shrimp longhi. Going to garnish it a little bit with some fresh basil. Poppy's going to cut up that garlic toast for later. And that's our dish.
You did cook.
Let me show it to you.
You did cook with love. Now
Here's the
let's
dish.
eat this with passion, Bob.
All right, we're going to cook with love. We're going to eat with passion. Everybody can be a great cook. All it takes is a little bit of attention and the things we talked about. So until our next series of shows, I'm Bob Longhi.